Hi everyone, welcome back. In this particular video, what we're going to do is we'll start discussing cyclohexane and its various conformations. So what we've seen so far is that of all the cycloalkanes that are possible, cyclohexane, which is a six-membered ring hydrocarbon, is the most stable. And the stability of the cyclohexane molecule is attributed to the fact that it can adopt a chair conformation. Now, when we say chair conformation, this is what it looks like. So I have the model here. And essentially what I want you to view this as is all of these points, these are all of these corners are carbon atoms, okay? And these black lines or the black connections are all carbon-carbon bonds, and the yellow and the green bonds, these are bonds to the hydrogen. So the hydrogen is at the tip here, and these are carbon atoms. So if you notice, this cyclohexane molecule, it can adopt a chair-like conformation. It may look very weird, but what we're trying to imagine here is that there is a headrest sort of thing. So imagine a chair, a lawn chair, something like that, where you have like a headrest. There is a seat, which is this portion of the molecule. That's the flat portion of the molecule is the seat, and then we have the footrest, which is in my right hand. So in my left hand, I have the headrest, I'm supporting the headrest, and my right hand is holding the footrest essentially. And then we have the flat portion of the molecule, which is the seat, okay? So cyclohexane, it can adopt this chair conformation. Now, because a cyclohexane molecule can adopt this chair conformation, it is exceptionally stable, because what it does is, in this chair conformation, each of these bond angles, okay, every bond angle here can be 109.5 degrees, which is the tetrahedral bond angle, okay? And so this carbon is sp3 hybridized, and it actually gets to keep tetrahedral angles around it, so that is really good. The other important thing about the chair conformation is, if you look at the molecule along carbon-carbon bonds. So I think I'm holding on to two carbon-carbon bonds. And at this point, what I would like you to do is imagine looking at these two carbons simultaneously. So you're looking along two carbon-carbon bonds and imagining a Newman conformation, a Newman projection. So look at those carbon-carbon bonds. You're looking down those two carbon-carbon bonds and imagine a Newman projection. And the question that you're trying to answer here is, what sort of a Newman projection do you see? Is this staggered or eclipsed? So if you look along this carbon-carbon bond, notice how every group is staggered, and the same is true for this carbon-carbon bond. If you look along that carbon-carbon bond, okay, every group there is also staggered. So in a chair conformation, all groups in a cyclohexane, so this is looking along two carbon-carbon bonds, okay, we're looking at those two carbon-carbon bonds, and one of the carbon atoms is here at the bottom. That's the carbon that's shown here without its hydrogens. Another carbon atom here is at the top. That's what's shown here, okay? So you're looking at two carbon-carbon bonds. So every group here is staggered. Now, it's not just along this carbon-carbon bond. Doesn't matter which carbon-carbon bond you look at, every group is staggered in a chair conformation, okay? And so that basically explains the exceptional stability of cyclohexane. Now, cyclohexane in a chair conformation, because this is the most stable conformation. Now, there are other conformations that cyclohexane that a cyclohexane molecule can adopt. But unlike chain hydrocarbons, alkenes, which are chains, where conformations are obtained by rotations about a carbon-carbon bond, like a single bond, a ring cannot rotate, because if I try to rotate it about this bond, I'm going to end up breaking this ring. I'll have to break it to get to a complete rotation, but they can actually twist, okay? In fact, the whole ring can sort of twist. It can just basically go through like several conformations like that, okay? These result in various conformations for this ring molecule when it does this, all this twisting motion, and like all the bonds are like moving along. That is what results in various conformations. So if we start with a chair conformation, let's start with a chair, which is one of the stable conformations for cyclohexane. Okay, and so on a potential energy diagram, we can say that the chair is one of the most stable conformations, okay, or it is the most stable conformation for a cyclohexane. Okay, so starting from a chair, okay, so this is a chair conformation. Okay, we have the headrest, we have the seat, and there is the footrest. The next conformation that's possible is a half chair. So this is more like a beach chair, I would say, where you have a headrest, but you don't necessarily have a footrest. Okay, it's an extended seat essentially. So notice how I have a headrest, but the footrest has been folded up, and it's basically parallel, or it is like in the same plane as the seat itself. Now, what does that do? This half chair conformation, it now creates a flat portion in the molecule. Okay, there is a flat portion of this molecule here. And what we know is when a six-membered ring or any membered ring is flat, it's not going to have 109.5 degrees. So it's going to expand the bond angle a little bit, okay, more than 109.5 degrees. And what that means is it's going to create some angle strain for this molecule, for the half chair conformation, okay, in a half chair. When the molecule is in a half chair conformation, it's going to create some angle strain. So there's some angle strain in the half chair conformation, which makes it less stable compared to the chair conformation, but that's not it. If you look at this carbon-carbon bond, look at that carbon-carbon bond, the one that I'm holding. So you're looking at that front carbon, this is the back carbon, and imagine a Newman projection. And what you notice is perfectly eclipsed conformation, right? It's a Newman projection where these two groups are eclipsing each other, or in fact, all groups are eclipsing each other. Okay, the eclipsing, that increases the energy as well. And so that is why the half chair is one of the, well, not one of the, it is the least stable conformation for a cyclohexane. So for a chair, there is no angle strain and there is no torsional strain. For a half chair, there is angle strain and there is torsional strain because of eclipsing interaction. So whenever you see torsional, that is associated with the eclipsing interactions. So we are at the half chair conformation now, where we have a headrest, but then we have a flat portion of the molecule. So we're at a half chair right now. Okay, and the half chair, we said, has an angle strain and it has eclipsing interactions. Now, from the half chair, this footrest that was folded up, we can fold it up further, okay, and it can go up. And this particular conformation is called a boat conformation for cyclohexane. And now the boat conformation, again, has some eclipsing interactions. Okay, and those can be viewed here. So if I move the molecule along, and if you look at this carbon-carbon bond, if that's the front carbon and there is a back carbon here, notice, and as you look along that carbon-carbon bond, notice how these are eclipsing. These two, here and here, they are eclipsing. These bonds are also eclipsing. And the same is true on the other side. So there are some eclipsing interactions on the other side of the molecule as well, okay? These are also eclipsing each other. So there are some eclipsing interactions in a boat conformation, and that would add to its instability. But you do relieve angle strain in a boat conformation. But there is another interaction that builds up in a boat conformation, which is called a flagpole-flagpole. So if this is a boat, okay, if this is a boat, notice how this position here is almost similar to a flagpole in a boat, okay? And there are two flagpoles in this boat conformation, and they're pointing towards each other in space. And so that causes some interaction between them, like a repulsion, which is called a flagpole-flagpole interaction. And that flagpole-flagpole interaction also destabilizes or makes it less stable. So that's the boat conformation, okay? But notice how before the boat, okay, that's the boat conformation, no angle strain, but there's torsional strain and there's flagpole-flagpole interactions, okay? So this has torsional strain and then flagpole interactions, angle strain and that. You have angle strain and that, no angle strain, no that, and boat has flagpole. So because the boat has this flagpole-flagpole interaction and it has eclipsing interactions, okay, in a Newman projection on both sides, what the boat does is a boat can twist a little bit, and the twisting is actually easier to see in this view. Okay, so notice this is the flagpole-flagpole interactions, these two running into each other, and you can see eclipsing here and eclipsing over there. So what the boat does is to avoid these flagpole-flagpole interactions and to relieve some of the torsional strain, the boat actually twists a little bit, okay, so that they can move away. So they're like basically pointing exactly at each other in a boat conformation, but the boat twists so that they move away from each other a little bit. So that's called a twistboard. So notice how now they're not pointing at each other exactly, they're like twisted a little bit. So that relieves some of that flagpole interaction. And additionally, if you look on the sides, it's going to relieve some of the eclipsing interaction. So it's not exactly eclipsed in this twistboard, okay? So when it does the twistboard, it is relieving some of the eclipsing interactions. Maybe this side on the left-hand side is better to see, okay? So it goes from like an exactly eclipsed conformation in boat like this. It goes from that, where everything is exactly eclipsed, to a conformation where they're slightly offset. So it is going towards a staggered conformation. So the twistboard is, for that reason, slightly more stable than the boat conformation itself. And then on the other side, you know, from this boat, so we were working with our footrest now. So when we are at the boat, now our headrest can start going down, and that would bring us to another half chair. Okay, that's another half chair. The headrest coming down, and the footrest, our previous footrest, which was on the right-hand side, my right hand, that is now our headrest. So the headrest now becomes flat. So we have another half chair. This half chair is again going to have some angle strain because there's a flat portion of the molecule. It's also going to build in some eclipsing interactions. So notice how these groups are eclipsing here. So when I look at that bond, right, along this bond here on my left-hand side, there are eclipsing interactions throughout. So that makes the half chair unstable. So there are eclipsing interactions here as well. Okay, so because of that, the half chair is unstable. And then when we pull this headrest, or what was the headrest before. When we pull that down completely, we are back to another chair conformation, so that we have a headrest in my right hand now, and we have the footrest in my left hand, and then we have the seat. So we get all of those, we get that arrangement back, okay? So we can start with one chair, become a half chair, twistboard, board, go to another twistboard, half chair, and then back to a chair. So that means we started here with that chair where the headrest was in my left hand, footrest was in my right hand, and we came up, the footrest became, and then we became a boat, and then the headrest, the previous headrest, started going down, so that we went to another chair conformation. So those are all the conformations that are possible for cyclohexane. But as you can see, the two chair conformations, they are significantly more stable. This is an energy scale, okay? This is energy here. This is energy. So the two chair conformations are significantly more stable than other conformations. Now we will see, talk about at least one example where the cyclohexane molecule actually becomes a boat, because that is the most stable conformation. So we'll look at that. And then I've drawn the Newman projection for a boat, but we already looked at it in the model. So there is like perfect eclipsing throughout. Okay, so that is what you're looking at there. Okay, this is a boat. This is a boat. That's the boat conformation. And, oops, sorry. Okay, that's the boat conformation. And if I flip it over, and if you look at it like that, you notice that there is perfect eclipsing throughout. Okay, so okay, on the right-hand side, you can see there's eclipsing. On the left-hand side, you can see there's eclipsing. So those are shown here. And then you have the two carbons at the bottom. Okay, the two flagpoles are actually shown here at the bottom. Those are the two carbons. So that's how we're looking at there. Sorry, when I'm not holding it properly, it doesn't look eclipsed, but there is perfect eclipsing in case of a boat. Notice that. This is what we're looking at. And if you just invert this, that is what this Newman projection would be, looking along two bonds, that bond and that bond. Okay, so that is the chair conformation, the most stable conformation for cyclohexane.